Welcome to SDH's coverage of everything going on in the NPSL Southeast Conference. Every single week here during the regular season, we will take a tour, let you know what happened in the week that was, talk to some of the principals around the league, and get you ready for the weekend that will be with the 3 matches that were on the board to start the season off. So as always, we go backward before we go forward, and we'll take a peek at what happened last weekend in the NPSL. We had a couple of premieres when it came to teams and starting things off in the NPSL. So let's get into what happened on the schedule. Saturday night, you had a couple of different matches, and one of them would be the match of the week here for those of us at SDH. 865 Alliance started their careers in the NPSL, and they got a win. We'll catch up with Michael Meyer coming up in short order to find out about the 2-1 win against Georgia Revolution FC. We'll also catch up with Jack Marchant, the head coach of the Revs as well, and find out about their growth coming into the season and the result going forward. But our match of the week was the other Saturday night game, 7:30 kick at North Cobb Christian School on Jacob Dennis Field. Apotheos FC, a new-look Apotheos FC, was the home side, and they entertained Charlottetown Hops. Here's the call of the match, courtesy of our friends at Apotheos FC and 11 Sports. Jarrett Smith running play-by-play.
The football lines on the field make it a little bit easier to know. It's about 33 yards out for Sandoval. Runs up, he's going to drive it, and oh, it's in the net!
And there's that man, Junior Sandoval, as audacious as it was, might have taken a deflection, completely took the goalkeeper away from it. He couldn't handle it in the end, and he pushed it into his own net, but Sandoval will absolutely be claiming that. A wonderful, low-driven strike, had a lot of pace behind it. And there's your first goal of the night.
Eventually able to maintain it now. It's Sumo. Sumo closing down. Sumo takes it, the hesitation. Shot. Score!
There's that man. Anthony Sumo with the strides. I was just about to say a couple plays ago, you saw how fast he was on the right-hand side. And there it was again. Long strides, beats his man to the ball. And it was that cool, calm finish to dribble past the goalkeeper and put his team 2-0 up.
You wonder, you talked about the unselfish play of Sorty, if this might be a situation where he makes a ghost run to free up somebody else.
Either that or he's getting his head on it himself.
Sandoval drives it low, and it's in the net! It's a goal!
Well, forget everything we talked about with the delivery. It was no question Sandoval was going himself, and he's got 2 free kick goals in the first half to make it 3-0 for Apotheos FC.
Loose ball, and now Charlottetown with an opportunity. Shot! Score! There, right there, you have seen history. It's the first goal for Charlottetown Hops. Koopa Katopa with the first goal in the club's history and has made it 3-1 in the 64th minute.
And hopefully it's enough to kickstart them back into this game from a Charlottetown point of view. You got to start somewhere, so making it 3-1 about 15 minutes, 18 minutes into the second half is very bright. Credit to them, they haven't stopped running.
Sandoval now plays it through. And a great tackle. That was Forrester who was through on goal. Now coming once again. That will do it. That'll do it for the end of the game. The first game is in the books. Apotheos with a 3-1 win over Charlottetown Hops to open the season. A disappointing result for the debutantes for their first ever game, but something to take home with them back to Charlotte.
So Apotheos gets the 3-1 win. They get full points out of the blocks at North Cobb Christian. And your other match on the day was Georgia Storm, and the weekend was on Sunday night, where Georgia Storm hosted Appalachian FC, and Appalachian FC came away with a point against Storm. So Storm and App share results in a 1-1 draw at the University of West Georgia. So that lays it all out with the winners. 865 Alliance gets full points. Apotheos gets full points. Storm and App FC share the results on the weekend. Now it's time to catch up with our principals, and here's the tour. Charlottetown, the Revs, App FC, where we catch up with Dale Parker, and 865 Alliance. Next up, head coach of 865 Alliance, Michael Meyer. Coach, thanks for hanging out with us here on the show.
Thank you for having me, John.
All right, so coming into this season, what was it like assembling 865 so you could be ready for this sprint that is the NPSL?
The process was every process is different with each club you work with. We were very, I would say, lucky for our very first tryout. We had over 180 kids, and the quality was, I would say, right in the middle to low. And then as we kind of cut down from 180 to 60 to now we have two teams, a second team of 25 and a first team of 25. We've really refined it, and that was kind of exciting to see. So we've been very lucky with our numbers. So we're just now been working in conjunction with all the colleges in this area or in this region, and they've been very helpful. I mean, my number one job is to prep these kids for when they go back for their fall season. If we do a good job, that will reciprocate and they'll come back the following year. So,
and then out of the blocks, you go into a conference that I think is one of the tougher ones out there, regardless of what you're talking about geographically in the NPSL. It's Georgia Revs, it's Apotheos, who look entirely different from what they did last year. Charlottetown, Storm, and App FC. When you found out you were going to be a part of this group, because there has been some change from what it was last year to this year, when 865 found out you were going to be a part of this group in the Southeast, what'd you think?
I was excited. I just take the challenge and take one step at a time. So far, the kids have been great. Players have bought in. They're working their tails off, and that's all you can ask. We have a little bit of everything. We have 3 guys from Paraguay, 2 from Costa Rica, 2 from England, and then we have some local talent here is bringing everything kind of together. And it's the group is really kind of they're feeding off each other, and obviously that first win definitely helps. We had a nice friendly against the College Developmental Academy out of Nashville yesterday, and we had some of the second team players really get involved. So everyone's kind of benefiting from the growth. So just up for the challenge, but you just want to take baby steps. We're new, and we know these first 2 weeks, it's kind of honestly fool's gold somewhat, because everyone's adding players. The first 2 weeks is hard because of the rules. You're not going to get all your players until probably the second or third week. So I know that when we play Georgia Revolutions, it's going to be a totally different team. So, and they're good. So we just got to prepare each week and then do our due diligence and our homework every time we get ready for an opponent.
You started off on the road going down to McDonough and knocking off the Revs 2-1. Now that you've had a couple of days to kind of pull yourself away from the result, away from the tape, and have had time to sit down and think about it, what are some of your takeaways about your debut?
I thought on my back line and midfield was pretty clean. In the first half, there was a disconnect between the midfield and the forwards, and we had to adjust at half, and I think we did that. Sebastian Chara came off the bench and provided that little connection, and he had a nice goal. But basically, it's really connecting each layer or line and making sure, obviously, when we don't have the ball, how fast we can get compact. And then when we do have the ball, I think we have the creativity and the quality to, probe and be, in the offensive third, take chances. And, we were able to do that the first game, but every game's going to be different. So you just kind of got to study the opponent and move on.
And next up, you've got the match against Charlottetown Saturday night at 7. What has study hall been like this week getting ready for them?
Well, they had 14 players. I'm not going to put they're going to have a whole new team. So the scout on that is, I don't know if it's because like I said, they're going to change. This team and last week's team is going to be totally different. So that's all I really can tell you.
When it comes to, you mentioned all of the different parts of the globe that you have as a part of the roster this year. What are those conversations like, and how surprising is it for you when you have these conversations like, oh, I've got a player from Paraguay who's interested. I have a player from England. What's it like to have worldwide attention for a team like 865 Alliance in the NPSL?
Well, they all bring a different type of spice to, you're creating your kind of analogy, or like you're cooking this kind of this machine, and everyone brings a certain different quality to it. The discipline of Ben King, he's from England, and he is constantly communication between him and Gabe Martin, which is a kid, an American from Knoxville. And those two did a really good job on the back line of keeping the outside backs just constant shape. The communication was excellent. And then you jump into the midfield, and we'll just say Isaac Garo, which is from Costa Rica. And his kind of fluidity and creativity led us to connect with, let's say, Rodrigo Ramirez, which is one of the Paraguayans that you touched on in the beginning. And it's the connection between all three is it's fun for me, because I'm learning from them, and hopefully I'm bringing a little bit of some organization and tactical organization to them. And yeah, like I said, it's just exciting, and hopefully they just continue to work and change and evolve in a good way.
I assume you have unlimited talk and text with international minutes or WhatsApp to make sure that these conversations start, Brian?
Yes, for sure.
All right. So I think a lot of folks may not necessarily understand the travel aspect of things and what it's like to kind of take a team from Knoxville and get them to CSA Ortho Carolina. So you're playing Charlottetown. How much of a haul is that? What is the planning getting into travel to make sure that you're getting from point A to point B in one piece? Because I think a lot of folks may just show up at a venue and sit there and go, oh, okay, there's a match today. What is it like for you trying to organize and orchestrate travel here in the NP with all of these players and trying to get them all on the same roadmap to get them from 865 to a road game?
Sure. I think when John Snyder and Josh Gray, the presidents or the owners of 865, did this, I think it was a match made in heaven in regards to regionally where Knoxville is. We are essentially located where it's about a 4-hour hike for all of our away matches, either 4 to 3.5 hours. So that was one kind of logistical thing which made this work. For all the away trips, we're taking charter buses. And it's the day of, so tomorrow we're leaving at 11 a.m. and we get there a good amount of time just to relax, let the guys kind of chill out for a little bit, and then get into our game mode. And that's how we're going to handle out it, each time. So I was very lucky enough to be mentored by Eric Rudland, which was the head coach at Lansing United for 2 years. And then we transferred the whole coaching staff down to AFC Ann Arbor. And so I learned a lot from him. And if I can simulate anything of what he did, he's been highly successful. Our first year at Lansing, we went to the Final Four against Red Bull, and it was just a lot of those experiences you try to write down and remember, what did we exactly do? And I picked his brain as what are the things that were behind the scenes that you can't predict? So I've asked him a lot of those questions.
I was going to say, so he's number one on your speed dial when you have questions, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. Him and Boise Kamala.
There you go. It is 865 Alliance on the road, taking on Charlottetown Hops at CSA Ortho Carolina Saturday night at 7. And catching up with us, Michael Meyer, the head coach of 865 Alliance. Coach, good luck this weekend. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, John. Have a good day.
All right, time to go to Charlottetown, catch up with the Hops and Coach Zane Barnes. Coach, how does it feel to finally have a game played that means something for the franchise?
It feels really good. Obviously, a surreal feeling just being involved with a startup club and having that first match. I know the boys were glad to get it under their belts. To be fair, we only had, I think, 3 days of training. So not a lot of time together, but obviously trying to get the first game under your belts can be difficult sometimes. So definitely some positives we took out of it, and glad to get the ball rolling.
And at the same time, I know that you're having more players arriving this week, getting ready for this weekend. How is all of this organized chaos coming through, and what did you learn about yourselves as a team from week 1 with everybody else who's coming in now for match week 2?
For sure. And we're not dumb to the fact that most 4-tier teams are going through this. I've been involved with USL2 before, and it's the same kind of dog and pony show as far as players are still in school maybe, and they're trying to come out, or even international players trying to get visa things sorted out. So yeah, we started this last week with, I think, around 17 guys in training, and we, as crazy as it sounds, we went to the match this last Saturday with 13 players. So really good experience for the guys that were in, because they all got an opportunity to showcase kind of where they are and what they can provide for the organization.
You mentioned, go ahead.
And also that not only was it a great experience for them, but they had to go 90 minutes. So we talk about the fitness side of things, that they were thrown into it really quickly.
Now, you mentioned that you've got your experience in USL2. Obviously, you're at you're in Rock Hill with Winthrop. What attracted you to Hops in the first place to want to, pardon the pun, hop on board with a startup?
Yeah, it's in this profession, you don't get this opportunity very much to be the first at something. For us as coaches, we're always coming in after somebody else. That's the job. And so being asked to be involved and to jump in, obviously not knowing the 3 owners prior to it, but after kind of conversating with them, they all have great talents and great abilities that are going to progress this organization forward. And they all have different things that they bring to the table. Just in the last month that I've been able to see, that's going to make it really interesting. They do a fantastic job leaving the soccer part to us, but behind the scenes, they're doing everything. And when you have been in other organizations and you've seen things maybe not have been done, but you see in this organization things being done of the smallest detail, of Hops corner flags or gear that the players have that are legitimate name brand gear. And our owners being at a 7 a.m. training this morning, meeting with players afterwards, saying, guys, if you need anything, we're here. We want you to be able to perform and have a great experience. So if there's anything you need, here's my cell number. You don't get that a lot. And so just very happy to be a part of that and to kind of see where this season goes.
Coach Zane Barnes from Charlottetown Hops hanging out with us on the NPSL Southeast Weekly. One of the cool moments from this past weekend was the first club goal. There's always a first. You mentioned being first, jumping in and being the part of the first club, first team, first staff ever. Kutompa gets your first club goal, and he's a native to the road team. He's native to where Apotheos is based up north of Atlanta in the town of Kennesaw. What was it like for him? Because I think his mom was there.
Yes.
To be able to share this experience with him, and he gets that goal on the road to be a first for Charlottetown on the road in his hometown in that match. There's a lot of firsts and a lot of cool weaving through there for him with this.
Yeah, and he's a true professional. We were obviously down, I think 3-0, and so I think he would have loved, and we would have loved to celebrate that a little bit more in the moment. But credit to him, he went and picked the ball up and took it back to center circle, because obviously we were still trying to dig out a result, but couldn't have been given to a better individual. And I think he I think he was the first signing out of the club. So not only that being that, but he was playing out of position. We only had 13 players, so a lot of guys were asked to play in different areas. So just a really good experience for him, and obviously family being around, being able to do it. I think that's one of the main things about what makes this summer league so important and so fun, is that you're able, for the most part, you get a lot of players from normally your home environment, to really be able to see you, especially with these players that are going off to different universities to play. So it was really nice for us to be on the road and for his mom to be there, to kind of watch him, and for him to do that. We would not have, as a club, and as a group of guys, would have rather picked a better person to be able to score our first goal in that moment.
Another first coming up this weekend. 865 Alliance visits the Ortho Carolina Sportsplex. I know that we're early in the process, but how much homework has been able to have been done? What are you anticipating when it comes to the match on the weekend at 7 o'clock on Saturday night?
Yeah, we definitely have not been doing our homework on the other side. We are frantically, we had around 16, 17 guys this last week, 13 for the match. We're sitting at around 20 for the training now, and we're going to have our anticipated 18 for the most part for the first home match. So everything right now, and I'll mention Morteza, but Morteza is our head coach, and we're really trying to nail out our game model with the boys. And so when we have a number of them, so less of it's about the opponent, more of it's about the product that we want to be able not only to attempt to try to win matches at, but to put a good product on the field. We have a really big place in our heart to really try to play a style of play that fans want to come out and watch. And so we think, and we know that Charlotte has an immense soccer environment and soccer culture. So we want to really play into that. And we think kind of the brand that we're wanting to play will show that.
So, Coach, let me ask you this. After exiting Open Cup and getting ready for the regular season, what was that transition like? It seems like there isn't any rest up there in Boone.
Yeah, it's been very well. It's sort of strange because sometimes you finish the season in the summer, and then you have that long time in between before you start again next summer. It's been almost like the opposite of that. Imagine finishing the summer season, then 2 weeks later building a brand new team. Yeah, mentally it's been a bit of a strain, and obviously a lot of movement in the area in terms of players coming in and out, and obviously myself and my family coming in and coming out, and now finding a semi-permanent spot in Boone. Yeah, it's been crazy, but yeah, that's what we want, though, right? That means we're doing something right, and obviously we want that to continue.
What has the preseason vibe been like up there getting ready for this season here in 2023, knowing what the expectations are now, knowing that you want to make deep runs into the playoffs? What was the vibe like coming into the season up there?
I think the expectations obviously are higher. I think because of that, we're able to attract more talented players. So not just in terms of level, but in terms of quantity. So that's been a little bit more tricky, trying to navigate that and making sure that we're getting the right characters as well as the right kind of players. So that's been a really interesting piece this past year, recruiting wise. And like you just said there, the expectation level is so high now. We put ourselves in a position last year where we wanted to challenge to win the league, but obviously when you get a taste of that and you win the conference championship and you go into national tournaments and you qualify for Open Cup, now it becomes a standard expectation. So there's a little bit more pressure on the players, even for the returning guys. But the new players that are coming in, they've got to quickly get on board with what we're doing and understand that we're now the team with the target on our backs. We've had the luxury of chasing down and being the new kids on the block for the last 2 years. Well, this year it's the opposite. We're the guys that people are trying to chase down, and we're the team that everybody wants to beat.
What's it like having that bullseye on your chest now?
It's a different feeling. It's definitely the feeling that you won. I think you always want to be. It means that you've been successful. It means that you've got plans to continue that. So it's what we want for sure. But we felt that on Sunday. Our opponents made things very, very difficult. They built the game up for their supporters and for their players, and they were really up for it. And tried to take advantage of a 7-hour road trip and the first game of the season where we're probably not quite at full strength, and So it's going to be like that everywhere we go. It's not going to be easy for us, but again, I think we'd rather be in this position than not, because it says that we're doing something right.
For someone who hasn't had the chance to either see you in Open Cup with the holdovers from there and the roster that you're putting together this time in NPSL, who are some of the names that folks might be gravitating toward as they watch you on a weekly basis?
There's quite a lot. I mean, we have a smaller group of returners from year 1 to 2, from 2 to 3. So, in terms of those guys, Jeremiah Loomer's coming back again for year 3. Obviously a talented attacking player. He's going to be someone whose name, quite a lot, I think, through the course of the season. We signed a very, very good player from Memphis. He was a junior college transfer, LSUE, Eli Bakota. He's someone who looked really lively in game 1, and was very unfortunate not to get himself on the score sheet, because he was a constant threat throughout the match. And obviously, from last year to this year, we've kept some familiar faces in the back line. Max Landau, who captained us in the Open Cup and played a massive part of what we did last year, scored the penalty for us on Sunday. He's an integral part of our leadership group, and someone that's going to be a main fixture, I think, as a right back in this team. And then Rashawn Kelman, another one that played back in 2021 and has returned year after year and got better and better as our left-footed centre back. So there's a few more names in there that we hope to be mentioning here pretty soon. But like everybody else, I think I'm still new to a lot of these guys. I've only worked with them for a week and a half, and I've got high expectations of another couple of guys, but I won't put that pressure on them just yet.
And you mentioned road trips. This time, you get the home opener at Ted Mackerel, Apotheos, with a lot of folks that are known in the Atlanta area and in the state of Georgia with their pedigree coming up your way. How much studying have you done on Apotheos so far, and what kind of a game are you expecting?
Well, I'm actually still watching their first game. I'm going through it again. Listen, they've got some talented players. I think anybody that watched them play their first game or has been keeping up with their social media, they've got some head turners. They're certainly not the team of last year. They've signed some ex-professionals or players who should be still in their professional prime. Not sure how they've managed to pull that off, but what it's going to do is raise the level of this league. It's going to put them as probably internal favourites at the moment with the team that they're able to field. So we're expecting an extremely tough match. Now, as we all know in this league, you can be one team at home and a different team away from home. I think a lot of the success in this conference depends on how you travel. If you're able to pick up points on the road. So although they're going to be a very, very strong team and probably a team to be trying to take down, we're playing at home. So our expectation is to be the favourites. Our expectation is to play on the front foot and attack them and see how they're like playing up here and try and make them uncomfortable. But yeah, we're expecting a much different Apotheos this year. Although they were strong last year, I feel like they're going to be even better this year.
What do you think the biggest lesson that you learned carrying from last season to this season was with the Revs?
Good question off the bat. I think if you look at the last couple of years combined, obviously the Revs 2 years ago winning the league had a very experienced team compared to the rest of the league. And I think if you look back at last year, Appalachian brought back a lot of the teams that played in their first year, brought back a lot of players who played in their first year. And learning that, especially in the summer, with the majority of the guys being college guys, experience is key. And over the winter break, that's what myself and the staff looked at, and we retained a lot of players from last year. And again, now the biggest thing is just getting them all in. Obviously, with doing different things in college and graduating and all these different things, it's just getting them in. But learning that experience is key.
How difficult is retention in a league like the NP, considering folks graduate, they've got lives, they go and play professionally, and you want to bring as many folks back to McDonough as you can, But with the nature of this league being what it is, how difficult is it to retain that core so you can continue the successes that you've built?
For me, I mean, the biggest thing that I wanted to focus on last year is obviously that we play good football and the standard is high, but the guys get a good balance, because if we can do that, guys are going to want to come back. Obviously, it's important that you're not kind of picking up college seniors as they go into their last season, because they're obviously going to graduate for the most part and go on and do different things. So we looked at obviously sophomores and juniors in college, and we've brought a lot of them back for this year. But also what they've done is help recruit as well. I think if you look at our team last year, I think we had one returner from the previous year under Ricky. So it was a brand new team. And I think if you look at our squad this year, we've brought back 12 players from the previous year, which makes a huge difference. And it's not been easy. But again, I think the progress that we made last summer and the atmosphere that we set up made it a lot simpler task to retain those guys.
And now that you've had a couple of days to kind of sit back and maybe look at tape, or just take the tape and put it in, file 13 after what happened against 865, what are some of your takeaways now that you've had time to digest?
I think we've definitely put that tape in room 101. No, it's one of those things, it's early in the summer. There's so much to play for. It's so early. I know only 10 games seems quick, and it's one of those ones where it's a short, long summer. But again, we're still missing some key players that are still yet to arrive. Full credit to 865. I think earlier in the season, you would argue that sometimes, especially with all the groups having new players and new setups and not having long to train, playing on the road at that time could be an advantage, because they had a very simple game plan and they executed it perfectly. I mean, had 2 opportunities, scored 2 goals. We missed a couple and we didn't take advantage of some mistakes. So, that it's valuable experience for the younger guys on our team who have stepped up and had to play for us. And as long as we learn from it, it's never a failure. I mean, we were in a very similar position this time last year. Again, App came to us and beat us fair and square, but I think it set us up to be successful further down the road in how to perform on the road in the summer and just how to perform in general. Because with it being such a brief season, you got to learn to minimize mistakes, but also capitalize on other mistakes. So I think in a weird way, it's going to set us up in a good way.
For those that haven't had the chance to follow along and see what this roster build has been like, who are some of the names that folks might gravitate toward as they catch you down either in McDonough or around the road in the Southeast this year?
If you're looking at returners, George Maxwell, our all-region centre-back from last year, he's returned. Yolo Jones, again, centre midfielder from Georgia State, he's returned this year as well, as long as Justin Guest, the local McDonough boy. And then we've got Callum Scorer coming back, our boy from England coming over. And then some new additions to look forward to. We've got Tom Wilson joining us at centre-back, George's teammate at College of Charleston, as well as Nacho coming in from Mercyhurst, who's going on to play his 5th year up there. So, we brought back some exciting players, but we added some exciting talent as well.
How difficult is it to bring talent from overseas to be a part of this? I would imagine that you probably have to figure out, okay, for a player to be here by X date, we've got to back time our entire life to make sure that paperwork is in by now and all this kind of stuff. How difficult is that process to bring in players for this 10-week sprint, which you hope is more with playoffs? How difficult is it bringing in from players overseas?
It's one of those ones, I think it varies player by player. Working in this industry, not only in the summer, but throughout the year in the college industry, it's a lot about who you know. And that's basically how this all came about. Callum, extremely talented player, was coached by a guy that I played in college with. And that connection was kind of made. And yeah, I mean, it's a different challenge, but I don't work on the administrative side. I let our owner do that. But once we get the paperwork sorted, it is. A lot of things have to line up. And it's a lot of dedication. I mean, Callum's coming out of a 9-month season back home, straight in here. Unfortunately, a lot of it back home, he spent injured. So I think that's why he's been chomping at the bit to come back out. And again, I know we're over the moon to have him. And again, it's a nice little addition to the team.
And, of course, now after the home opener against 865, you go into a rivalry matchup this weekend, and it's out in Carrollton, and it's Storm and Revs in Matchweek 2. How about that?
It's an exciting prospect. I mean, I know they've made a lot of changes. He kind of stripped it down to the bare bones and built it again. And they obviously got a very good result on Sunday against the reigning champions. I mean, regardless of whether it be in a home or not, you can never really argue with a point against App to start the season. But, it was a happy hunting ground for us last year. In an ideal world, we pick up the same result that we picked up there last year. But I know it's going to be a lot tougher, and my guys know it's going to be a lot tougher. Again, there's looking at the division this year, there's no easy games. There's no easy games, and you gotta be ready to rock and roll when kickoff comes along. But it's nice we get an extra day to prepare. Obviously, with it being on a Sunday evening, but we're looking forward to going there, great facility, and showing what we can do.
So that sets up Match Week 2 in the NPSL. And at Ted Mackerel Saturday night, as we caught up with Dale Parker, the head coach of App FC, they get to host Apotheos. How does Apotheos respond after getting full points at home? How do they respond on the road? 7 o'clock at Ted Mackerel will give us the answers. Also at 7 o'clock at CSA Ortho Carolina, it is 865 Alliance and Charlottetown Hops. So it'll be interesting to see how the two newer clubs in the NPSL Southeast will go squaring off against one another. Sunday, Storm and Revs. Can't get any bigger than a rivalry match in Match Week 2 out at the University of West Georgia. So the Revs travel from McDonough. They go to Storm, catch up with Storm at the University of West Georgia Soccer Complex on Sunday night. Once again, thanks to everybody at Charlottetown Hops, the Revs, App FC, and 865 Alliance. And getting us out of Match Week 1, get you ready for Match Week number 2. That's your tour of NPSL Southeast. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Play it safe, everybody. If you are near Boone, if you're near Charlottetown and the CSA Ortho Carolina Sportsplex or the University of West Georgia, check out the action. And if for some reason you can't, you want to follow along through the social media platforms of each of the clubs. They'll tell you where to direct all of your eyes and ears when it comes to the matches in the NPSL Southeast. So for everybody here at SDH, enjoy the matches. Play it safe, everybody. We'll catch up with you next week.